And welcome to the Christina School District School Board Candidate Forum. My name is Cimone, and I will be a co-moderator for the forum this evening. This forum is being hosted by First State Educate, Delaware PTA, the Central Branch of the NAACP, Network Delaware, the Coalition for a Safer Delaware, the National Coalition of 100 Black Women, Black Mothers in Power, and the Central Branch of the Chamber of Commerce, and many other community organizations to name. Just a reminder that this is not a debate. There will be no rebuttals. Questions were sent out to each candidate to help prepare. There will be a visible timer. When time is up, Kayla will say, "Thank you." If time allows, we'll take questions from the audience, but these will be in the chat and only asked by one of the co-moderators to avoid any repetitive questions and to ensure that the forum stays respectful. Candidates will have 1 minute to respond to the questions in the chat. Remember, this is an opportunity for you candidates to share your platform and for the public to get to know where you stand on issues. The purpose is so that the public can make an educated decision when they vote. We'll be recording the forum as well as streaming live on social media. Each candidate will have 1 minute at the end to wrap up. RaShona?
Hi, my name is Shannon, and I am representing the the EEA program, the Educate Equity Ambassadors program. And I just want to continue by saying there's one seat up for election in Christina nominating District A. Anyone who lives on Christina can vote for one of those candidates. We will start with Janiene with our 2-minute intro and then hear from Shannon.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Janiene Campbell. I am a mother of two, a dedicated community advocate, a mentor, former substitute teacher in the Christina schools, former PTA treasurer and PTO vice president. In 2021, I founded One Purpose Food Pantry to provide nutritious food to families in Newcastle County and the city of Wilmington. I also teach a diabetes support program for children and their families who are at risk of or living with type 2 diabetes. I also serve as the health education chair for the Delaware PTA. I'm running for the Christina School Board because I've seen firsthand the challenges our students, families, and staff face, both as a former substitute teacher and as a parent navigating the public school system in Delaware with limited resources and support. I knew I had to do more, and to do more, I needed a seat at the table. I am deeply rooted in this community, and I'm committed to improving student outcomes. Thank you.
Shannon?
Yes. Hello, everyone. My name is Shannon Troncoso, and I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight and to get to know me better. I'm a mother of two. I'm a criminal defense lawyer, and I'm running for Christina School Board because leadership today demands more than good intentions. It demands skill, discipline, and results. As a lawyer, I am trained to think strategically, advocate persuasively, and hold systems accountable. I understand governance because I've lived it in courtrooms and negotiations and advocacy for those that need a voice. I know how to read contracts, interpret policy, and ask the hard questions that are often overlooked. My path here today was not easy. I grew up in poverty in rural Indiana, where dropping out of school was common, but I fought my way. It took me 30 years to become a lawyer, but I did it because I never gave up. I realized what education, what the acquisition of education means, and I'm not running to join sides or play politics. I'm just here for the better outcomes for the students, families, and community of Christina School District. Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. And I'm going to pose the first question to you.
Sure.
What do you believe are the key roles and responsibilities of a school board member?
Well, the key role of school board, of any school board member, is governance. And governance is setting the visions and the values for the community. And then monitoring how we are achieving those vision and values. It's not to micromanage. It's not to micromanage how the superintendent plans to achieve those goals and values.
Thank you. And Janiene, I would give you the opportunity to ask the same.
Sure, thank you. The key roles and responsibilities of a school board member are to represent the community's vision and values for student outcomes and work collectively with the rest of the board to oversee and govern the school district, to set those policies that are inclusive and will ensure positive outcomes. The board is responsible for hiring and evaluating the superintendent and budget oversight. Thank you.
And Janiene, I'm going to pose the next question to you. What are the top 3 characteristics of an effective school board member?
The top 3 are transparency, ensuring that we communicate clear with families, staff, community, stakeholders, making sure that the board members are staying engaged by listening effectively to all concerns and feedback and keep the public informed and updated on board work. Accountability, taking responsibility for decisions and actions and student outcomes and community. School boards are to represent the vision and values of community members as a whole and to include their diverse perspectives before making informed decisions that impact students. Thank you.
Thank you. Shannon?
I think first what's important is integrity. And with integrity, that means asking the hard questions and making sure that everything is around student outcomes. It cannot be about adult inputs or adult outputs. It must always be focused on student outcomes. The next important thing is a commitment to collaboration. I'm committed to collaborating with the other board members and also collaborating with the community, being open to the community, having clear, discernible dates on the calendar when the community can come forward and share their thoughts and their feelings about how the board is reaching the visions and values of the community, and also to give them a progress report. I believe that above all, as I said, it's always about students. It must be about putting students first.
Thank you. How would, this question is for Janiene. I'm sorry, this is going back to you, Shannon.
Okay.
How would you approach decision-making to ensure transparency, accountability, and community trust?
I think that community trust takes time, and it's just about constantly being open. I personally am committed to being open, not just with board meetings. I'm committed to being open anytime to receive the constituents, their concerns. Was there a 2-part to that question? I apologize.
Sure. It was, how would you approach decision-making to ensure transparency, accountability, and community trust?
Transparency is just as I said. Community trust is going to take time. There is transparency. I think the big point is with the community, making them aware of the meetings, like the Citizens Budget Oversight Committee. The community, I think, if given the time, they will show up. But I think we have to be better about communicating when those meetings are and giving the community the green light to vocalize how they feel.
Thanks. Janiene?
Yes, ensure transparency, accountability, and community trust in decision-making. I would begin by clearly explaining the process so everyone understands what to expect. I'll create accessible opportunities for the community to ask questions, provide feedback, and share concern, such as through regular listening sessions. I would then gather the community's vision and values for student outcomes, summarize them in a document, and use them to set focused, measurable goals. I will have regular progress updates, whether positive or not, and this will be shared to maintain open communication and reinforce accountability.
Thank you. And this question is going back to you, Janiene. How should the school board work with the superintendent to respond to student outcome data, particularly given that less than 50% of students are reading or doing math on grade level? And what role should the board play in ensuring continuous improvement?
Well, this is an urgent matter, and the school board should work with the superintendent to respond to the student outcome data by collectively taking a look at the data to understand which students are struggling and why. Set clear goals for improving student outcomes, communicate these goals clearly with the superintendent as the superintendent implements the appropriate resources and activities. The board will monitor progress by receiving reports from the superintendent monthly and reviewing updated student data, often to check if strategies are working. If not, then we need to look at what could be done differently. The board cannot wait until the end of the school year to see if progress has been made. At the same time, we need to make sure we're ensuring complete transparency and honesty about the goals, the progress, and outcomes with the community.
Thank you, Janiene. Shannon?
I'm sorry, I already answered that question, correct?
Oh, I don't think so.
I'm-
This one was, how should the school board work with the superintendent to respond to student outcome data, particularly given that less than 50% of students are reading or doing math on grade level? And what role should the board play in ensuring continuous improvement?
What's important is that we set goals, measurable goals for what we would like to achieve. And then we have periodic, whether that be quarterly or monthly, check-ins with the superintendent to see how that goes.
Thank you. All right, and Cimone?
Alrighty, so we are going to switch gears here and go into some questions about student outcomes, teaching and learning. So the first question, we'll start with Shannon and then go to Janiene. What steps would you take as a school board member to improve student outcomes?
The first step I would take is being a team member on the school board. I think entirely too much attention has been played in the media and across the communities with adults behaving inappropriately. And I think that has been a disservice to the students of Christina School District. I think it's important to keep focused on student outcomes. And that is, again, working with the board to create vision and values that align with the community.
Thank you, Shannon. Janiene, the same question.
To improve student outcomes, I would start by actively listening to the voices of the community, the teachers, the families, to understand their perspectives and their priorities. I would analyze both academic and non-academic data to identify the root cause of challenges, then work with the board to prioritize the top 3 to 4 critical needs of the district. Based on those needs, we will set SMART goals that are specifically focused on improving student outcomes. I will ensure the superintendent implements strategies and clear inputs, such as resources and activities, and outputs, measures of implementation, and I would require regular progress updates to monitor the effectiveness and make adjustments as needed. This structured, transparent approach helps keep the focus on what matters the most, which is the student success. Thank you.
Thank you, Janiene. And so I'm going to stay with you for another question. How would you support efforts to ensure all students have access to a high quality education, regardless of their background or learning needs?
To ensure all students have access to high quality education, regardless of their background or learning needs.
Yes.
I would support efforts to both improve the quality of instruction and increase the amount of time students receive high quality learning. This includes expanding enrichment opportunities such as high dose tutoring and extended learning before, during, and after school, as well as throughout the summer. I would also advocate for improving school culture to reduce suspensions and keep students engaged in learning, supporting teachers through instructional coaching, goal setting, and continuous improvement would be a priority. Additionally, I would work to ensure that students have resources and support they need to thrive as whole children and back initiatives that strengthen family and community engagement. Thank you.
Thanks, Janiene. Shannon, the same question.
Sorry, can you repeat it?
Sure. How would you support efforts to ensure that all students have access to a high quality education, regardless of their background or their learning needs?
I think we need to reshape education, and we need to stop focusing just simply on reading and math scores. We need to make sure that special things like Social Security, I've been listening to the national news entirely too much, social studies and music and all the things that are typically considered specials, that we really start looking at them as the core needs of a child. Because once we get them engaged, whether it be social studies and things like that, where they're energized to learn, they're going to acquire the reading skills and the other math skills and everything like that. We need to just stop focusing just strictly on math and reading and start educating the whole child.
Thank you for your response, Shannon. I'm going to stay with you for the next question. How do you believe schools should address the diverse academic needs of students, including gifted and talented students, students with disabilities, English language learners, and those from diverse cultural backgrounds?
This especially speaks to me. I'm considered what is twice exceptional, both learning disabled and gifted. So this is something that I have personally dealt with. And I think that is catering to finding a child and meeting them where they are and helping them advance forward. My children are Hispanic, so they have also experienced just a cultural differentiation and discrimination at times. And I'm sorry, did I answer all those? I'm not filing a checklist or anything. I'm just so.
Yeah. So, how do you believe schools should address the diverse academic needs? And then for all of the areas that you touched on.
Yeah, I think that you just meet a child where it is. And I think early identification is key. And I think also helping bring the parents into the conversation. A lot of times parents that are told that their kid is maybe not progressing as they think they should. An IEP is not necessarily, it's not a bad thing. Let me strike that. It's not a bad thing at all. It's helping identify the needs of the child and the school, showing them how they're going to help their child advance.
Thank you, Shannon. Janiene, before you respond to the question, is there a way that you could adjust your mic a little?
I will move closer to the screen if that helps. Does that sound better?
That sounds better, yes. Okay.
Actually, sorry, I think my computer is overheating. I think that's the problem. Okay. So can you repeat the question, please?
Sure. So how do you believe schools should address the diverse academic needs of students, including gifted and talented students, students with disabilities, English language learners, and those from diverse cultural backgrounds?
I believe schools must recognize and respond to the unique academic needs of every student by ensuring that appropriate supports are placed to foster each child's growth and success. This includes providing targeted interventions for students who need additional help, as well as offering enrichment and acceleration opportunities for gifted and talented students. Schools should create inclusive environments that respect and reflect students' diverse backgrounds. For English language learners, schools should provide bilingual educators. And for students with disabilities, they should partner with families and specialists to ensure personalized and effective support.
Okay, thank you. And I'm going to stay with you, Janiene. How do you think the board should evaluate the successes of schools and educators?
I believe that the board should evaluate the success of schools and educators primarily through student outcomes. This means looking at academic growth, achievement, and other key indicators of student success. If students are not progressing, it signals that we, as educational leaders, must reassess our strategies and make necessary changes. In addition to student outcomes, the board should ensure measures such as school climate, teacher development, and how effectively resources are being used to support learning. Ultimately, the goal is to ensure that every decision and action leads to better results for students.
Thank you, Janiene. Shannon, same question.
I think it's important to realize what a school board member does, and that is the governance. We're not there to micromanage particular schools or principals or how they reach those outcomes. I think it's constantly staying in communication with the superintendent and helping to refine her plan, but not to get caught up in because I think that's the misnomer. We're not there to get involved in the day-to-day operations of a school or a principal. We're there to support the superintendent in reaching the long-term goals of the district.
Thank you, Shannon. And then one final question for you, Shannon. What role should school boards play in ensuring that financial decisions align with student needs and district priorities?
I think transparency is key. And as I mentioned, I believe it's every month, the Citizens Budget Oversight Committee meets and the community can see line by line where money is being spent. I would encourage the community to push back if they feel like it's not transparent enough or money is not going where, because ultimately that's what school board members are. We're a steward of the community's money. So that's how I felt.
Thank you, Shannon. Janiene, same question.
The school board should make sure that the money is spent in ways that help students and support the district's main goals. Once the board decides what the priorities are and set those goals, the budget should be used to help reach those goals. This means putting money towards program and resources that improve student outcomes. By checking how the money is used and whether it's helping students, the board can make sure funds aren't wasted and are making a real difference.
Thank you, Janiene. I'll be asking the next few questions, and I want to go take the time to ask this first question to Janiene again. How would you engage families, educators, and the broader community in school board decision making?
Well, I would make sure that families, educators, and the community make sure that they know how important the meetings that the school board have, that how important they are. Make sure that they have easy access so they're able to attend and participate. I hold listening sessions in places that are convenient for them and create opportunities for them to share their thoughts. I'll also make sure that meeting notices are shared in a timely way through different channels like social media, the school website, and emails. Most importantly, I'll listen to their vision and values and use their input to help guide board decisions.
Thank you. Shannon?
I'm sorry, do you mind repeating it?
Sure. How would you engage families, educators, and the broader community in school board decision making?
What I found that's been very impressive is that there's a lot of passion for education here in Delaware. And I think that that's keeping the channels open. I've been very impressed with all the administrators and people I've had the opportunity to speak with over the past couple of months. I think as a board member, you have to keep yourself available for questions and for input from the community.
Thank you. And I'll start with you for the next question. Can you provide an example of how you have worked to strengthen community and family engagement in education?
I have been involved with education at some point ever, even before having children. But I've been involved with my kids' schooling starting from preschool on. Something that I feel like is not that I do currently that's not maybe a direct is that I'm the last safety net for when education fails. As a criminal defense attorney, when they don't have an education, they grow up, they're not able to have a job. And we both know that the prison to pipeline is real. So I think that that's something that I'm trying to help with education and people of the community is just being the last safety net.
Thank you. Janiene?
Yes. So each month, my nonprofit partners with Title I schools in Newcastle County and Wilmington to provide nutritious food to families with children attending those schools. This effort not only helps meet a basic need, but also brings school staff and the broader community together in support of families. It strengthens the relationship between school families, and it creates a more supportive and engaged educational environment. Thank you.
Thank you. And this question, I will start with you, Janiene. What role should the school board play in ensuring a safe and supportive school climate for students and staff?
Well, as a former substitute teacher in the Christina School District, I've seen school lockdowns and fights that made the environment unsafe and disrupted learning for the entire day. Student safety should always come first. When schools aren't safe, students can't learn and teachers can't teach. The school board should work with the superintendent to take action before problems happen by offering programs that bring all students together, whether they're at risk or not. This includes more counseling, mental health support, mentoring programs to help with issues like bullying and trauma and emotional challenges. Working with parents and community groups can also help teach students how to handle conflict in healthy ways. Using restorative practices like restorative circles and guided conflict resolution can fix problems without just handing out punishments. This can also help reduce suspensions since missing school hurts students' learning.
Thank you. Shannon?
Yes, I think the most important thing is being responsive in real time and being aware of the issues and the challenges in the school. Another thing would be to increase the chill rooms and things that are found so that kids can learn to manage their emotions. I think that it's also to help make sure that the teachers feel supported and help them get more professional development to handle what is becoming increasingly common, and that's disruption in the classroom. I'm also hoping that with the legislation that is being talked about with removing cell phones from classrooms, that will also make classrooms more of a place of learning and cut down on some of the distractions.
Thank you. This is going back to you, Shannon.
Mhm.
What steps do you think school boards can take to address disparities in school discipline and reduce the school to prison pipeline?
Well, first of all, I do not agree with more school resource officers. It's been my experience that a lot of times schools should be the front line of hope, not despair. We should be helping to build people up, not tear them down. And sometimes some of the first interactions with harsh discipline kids experience in school, and that sets them off on the wrong path.
Thank you. Janiene?
I believe we all have personal biases, even if we don't always realize it. Many of us haven't had enough training to recognize and understand these biases. That's why I think all school staff and board members should take part in cultural humility training. This kind of training helps people reflect on their own beliefs, see where the biases might be, and be open to learning from others, especially those who come from different backgrounds. When people are more aware and understanding, it can lead to fairer discipline in schools and help reduce the number of students pushed into that school to prison pipeline.
Thank you. Janiene, how should school boards balance the need for school safety, a positive learning environment, and fair discipline policies?
I believe school boards should make sure schools are safe while also creating a positive and welcoming place to learn. That means having rules that keep everyone safe, but also making sure discipline is fair and doesn't harm students more than it helps. Instead of only using punishments like suspensions, schools should also use things like counseling, conflict resolution, and restorative practices that help students learn from their mistakes. The goal is to protect students, to support them and help them grow, not push them out of school.
Thank you. Shannon,
So sorry to ask you to repeat it again.
most definitely. How should school boards balance the need for school safety, a positive learning environment, and fair discipline policies?
I think that we first have to start celebrating small wins and encourage innovation. That students need to be celebrated for the things that they do correctly. And I'm sorry, rather than have you repeat it, can you tell me what number it is? I'll reread it. My ADHD and lack of medication is
No
there
worries.
right now.
I will read that again for you.
Yeah.
How should school boards balance the need for school safety, a positive learning environment, and also fair discipline policies?
I think also with school safety is making sure that we get the student teacher ratios to a point that's manageable. And that's something that we'll have to work on. Obviously, we have some complex needs, and to make those ratios work will take time, but I think that it's worth the effort and the focus.
Thank you. And Shannon, I'm going to pose the next question to you. What are your views on the role of schools in supporting students' social emotional well-being? And where do you see room for improvement?
Again, not to harp on the cell phones, but I think that it's important that we take cell phones out of the classroom and we help kids learn how to be kids again and celebrate the things, their curiosity, and make learning more enjoyable and fun. And also, I would say with that is that we have to really realize that where some of our students are coming from and the challenges and adversity that they're facing, and be a surrogate parent, so to speak.
Thank you. Janine?
Schools play an important role in supporting student social emotional well-being. Kids spend most of their time in school. When students feel safe, when they feel understood and emotionally supported, they are more likely to do well in school. Schools can help by teaching skills like how to manage emotions, build healthy relationships, and solve problems peacefully. Schools need more counselors, mental health services, mentoring programs, and training for teachers on how to support students emotionally. Teachers have taken on the roles of counselors and therapists. It is important for families to be involved in this as well. School should be a place where all students feel seen, valued, and supported.
Thank you.
All right. Janine, I'm going to stay with you for the next question. How would you approach financial decision making to ensure schools are using resources effectively and responsibly?
I would approach financial decision making by ensuring that resources are aligned with the community's vision, their values, and student outcome goals. It's important to make sure the superintendent understands these goals and expectations. The budget should be transparent. It should be structured to support these priorities as closely as possible, with evidence showing that the resources allocated will effectively help achieve the desired outcomes. By closely linking spending to goals and tracking progress, we can ensure that funds are used effectively and responsibly.
Thank you, Janiene. Shannon, next question, same question.
Tell me again. I'm sorry,
Sure.
Eric, you're going to scream at me.
No, you're fine. How would you approach financial decision-making to ensure schools are using resources effectively and responsibly?
I think, again, I keep saying this, but the Citizen Budget Oversight Committee, if people come to that, they'll see line by line. And I think that that's what it is necessary, going line by line and saying, are these funds being used effectively? Fortunately, with Christina, we're not at a deficit. Our district is doing fine, but I think that we could also advocate, hopefully the funding model will be changed and we'll have more resources to be able to use appropriately.
Thank you, Shannon. And I'm going to stay with you for the next question, which is, what are your views on the referendum process as means for school districts to raise funds for operational and capital expenses?
I particularly am not a fan of school referendums. I think that it puts the burden on communities to raise money when it should be allocated from the state, especially here in Wilmington or different parts. Like right now, we're facing property tax increases and things like that, and it puts us at odds with the community.
Thank you, Shannon. Janiene, same question.
I believe that referendums can be an important tool for the school district. However, it's important that the process is transparent and that voters are fully informed about how the funds will be used and the impact it will have on students. While referendums can be a valuable way to support schools, the district must also work to ensure that funding is managed responsibly and effectively to meet the needs of the students.
Thank you, Janiene. Janiene, the next question. Delaware is considering changes to its school funding formula. What are your thoughts on how school funding should be structured to better serve students?
Well, I believe school funding should be distributed in a way that is fair and addresses the specific needs of students. I believe in a weighted funding formula that takes into account the needs of students, such as those with disabilities, low-income students, and English language learners. This way, each school will receive funding based on the unique needs of its student population, ensuring that schools with higher needs get the support they require to help all students succeed.
Thank you, Janiene. Shannon, same
I'm going to
question.
ask you to repeat it.
Sure. Delaware is considering changes to its school funding formula. What are your thoughts on how school funding should be structured to better serve students?
Well, to begin with, the funding it has not been updated since 1940. And as we all know, 1940 is well before Brown v. Board. So we've not seen the adequate investments in public education as it should be. I think also, if you look at the funding currently, it's very antiquated. It's very hard to decipher. It's a unit, and it's basically like a spreadsheet. We're not really ever really dealing with money. So I think it's just being realistic. Funding for teachers needs to be improved, and funding for additional resources need to be improved. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. This question is going to go back to you, Shannon.
Okay.
What are your views on school choice, including charter schools, and how do you believe school boards should approach this issue?
Well, first of all, my goal would be for Christina to be a destination and not for families to feel the need to choice out to charters. I believe charters fill a role, but they should not be at the exclusion of the local school district.
Thank you. Janiene?
Yes, I believe families should have an option to choose the school that works best for their children, but I don't think money should be taken away from public schools to support charter schools or private schools. Public schools are important and should be fully funded so every child has a fair chance to succeed. I believe that charter schools should be held to the same rules and standards as public schools if they get public money. Private schools should not be funded with money meant for public education. School boards should advocate for public schools.
Thank you, Janiene. And this question is going right back to you. What policies or initiatives do you think would best support students experiencing poverty or homelessness, particularly regarding access to food and other basic needs?
When families are struggling with where they're going to sleep or what they're going to eat, it's hard for students to be able to focus on school. Meeting basic needs must come first. That's why I believe school districts should have strong support systems in place, especially for those students facing poverty and homelessness. Social workers are essential. They help connect families to food, housing, and other services, and make sure students don't fall through the cracks. I also believe we should keep providing free school breakfast and lunch for many kids. This may be the only meal they can count on.
Thank you, Janiene. Same question, Shannon.
Especially important here in Wilmington. There's a large homeless population, and I think that it's important that we strengthen our relationships with the community to make sure that parents and families have not only the things that they need now, but the supports that they need to transition into permanent housing.
Thank you, Shannon. Now, does anyone have any additional questions? Are we now going to, or do we have time to?
I'm not seeing any questions put in the chat. Oh, I'm
I
not
think we
seeing
can
it.
invite folks if they have questions to now would be the time for questions from the community.
Mhm.
For individuals who do have questions for the two candidates.
Yes. If you could put them in the chat.
Great. Yep.
Well, seeing none.
No, that's okay. This is like the concept of wait time. Who's an educator on the call? Wait time. You have to just wait. You have to wait,
Okay,
and
well, let's wait it
then
out.
they will
Let's wait it
come.
out. Let's wait it out.
Yeah.
No
Oh.
questions.
Okay.
But I'll offer one. I'll type it in the chat. Okay.
Julia, you could just ask it directly.
Great. Okay. I can. So I get. I don't. What order are we going in, Cimone?
Shannon was last, right? Okay, so
You
then
can ask
Shannon.
me first, so no one has to repeat the question again. I'm really sorry, my brain's mush about this
Okay.
time in the evening.
So great. So, where if you were to be elected, where would the Christina School District be in a year? What would be different?
I think it's important again to realize that as a school board member, I do not govern alone. So it's really impossible. Like I plan to work as a team with the other school board members, figuring out areas that I can contribute the best. And together we come up with the vision and the values for the community. I don't necessarily know that the community has had the opportunity to really speak about what they want from Christina School District. If they have, they've not been heard. And I think that's the first step.
Okay.
Julia, do
Janine?
you want to? Oh,
Julia, can you ask the question again, please? Thank you.
Yeah, if you were elected, where would the Christina School District be in a year? What would be different?
Well, my hope would be that we will have unity on the board. Also to have already put in place listening sessions to be able to hear more from the community, to make sure that we know where they stand with their visions, with their vision and their values. And so if we know where they stand, then we can set clear goals so we can move forward.
Thank you.
Thank
When you got two in the queue. See what I did? Got two
Yeah.
in the queue.
Yeah, so there's one member of the school board, Naveed Bakir, has been living in Pakistan for over a year, as well as having used a false address when he ran for school board. So what should the school board be doing at this time about the situation?
I'll take this, David.
So just as a point of order, it goes back and forth, right?
Okay.
Last person to speak is the first person to speak.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So I believe that it's not up to the school board what happens. I do believe that the school board does not have the say whether or not he should be on the board or not, but I do believe if they know that he does not live in the community, that it's their job to report this. It's their job to be honest, be transparent, and lead with integrity.
Shannon, I can answer that.
Well, I agree that first of all, I'm hoping that the legislation that is currently been brought forth to the Education Committee will actually be passed, and it'll be something that then can be handled by the General Assembly by code. But I think it's important to realize that in order to be effective school board member, you need to be in person. You need to have contact with your community, and I would encourage constituents, if they're not getting the access they need, it's for the constituents to vote the member out or to elevate the complaint to a level that's necessary in order to get action. It's not okay to have a seat and not be present.
Okay, thank you. So we are going to go ahead and allow you both to do your 1 minute closing. We started with Sean, we started with Janiene, right?
So you're breaking up a little bit.
Wait, sorry, Cimone, I don't know if you can see this in the chat. Can you see the chat? I got a question here. So this would go to Shannon.
Mhm.
Given the significant role that English and math play in state accountability metrics, how can you support district leaders in ensuring that core subjects like social studies and science do not continue to get squeezed out of elementary and middle school schedules in favor of extended, quote, literacy blocks and double blocks of math?
I think I may have already answered this, but to answer it again, I think it's important to have professional development that makes teachers feel adept at actually teaching the particular topics. And through that, whether it's social studies, other things that we need literacy and we need to read in order to take part in those particular subjects. But we need to give the teachers the tools they need to be leaders in those other areas.
Great, thank you. Janiene?
Can you ask the question again, please?
Given the significant role that English and math play in state accountability metrics, how can you support district leaders in ensuring that core subjects like social studies and science do not continue to get squeezed out of the elementary and middle school schedules in favor of extended, quote, literacy blocks or double blocks of math?
So I agree with Shannon about professional development. I think it's important to have instructional coaches. So the instructional coaches can work with the educators to set those goals and those benchmarks to make sure that it's not being pushed out. I think that is should definitely be a big focus and a priority.
And I have no other
Thank you.
questions, Simone, so now you're one.
Thank you. I couldn't see those additional questions, so thank you.
Yes. And we are going to go ahead and wrap it up. And so I want to give each candidate the opportunity to speak in closing for 1 minute. And since we did begin with Janiene with her introduction, we will begin the closing with Shannon.
First, I want to thank everyone again for hosting this forum where people can get to know us better. I would also encourage people, if they have any questions for me, to email me directly at votetroncoso.com. That's TRONCOSO, votetroncoso@gmail.com. It's important that everyone knows that I'm ready on day one. I have the skills to navigate complex situations and a living experience to understand the stakes. I'm running to help build a board that listens, collaborates, and leads with integrity. I'm not running to add to the noise.
Thank you, Shannon. And Janiene?
Yes, so I want to thank everyone for being here. Everyone who has listened, who has shared their hopes for our schools. I'm running for school board because I believe our top priority must be our students. Every decision, every policy should be grounded in what's best for our kids. This is how I approach my work every day. I'm deeply connected to this community, and I know that real progress happens when we listen to our families, support educators, and stay focused on results. I'm ready to bring that focus, that dedication, that collaboration to the Christina School Board. Don't forget to vote on May 13th.
Thanks so much. And that is exactly where I was going. Everyone, please vote on May 13th. And the polls will be open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Please get out to your nearest Christina school and cast your vote. And thanks so much, everyone, for joining us today. Yes.
Listening. I just want to thank Janiene. Everyone knows this is not an easy process. It's not a paid position. We're putting forth our time and effort because we genuinely care about kids. So I just want to thank my opponent, Janiene. As I told her when this all started, I'd rather gain a friend than win an election in a harsh way. So I appreciate you, Janiene.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you, Shannon. Same here.
Thank you both. And everyone have a great night.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.